Today I'll be giving a very short review on the A7C from a portrait photographer's point of view. I'm Richard and welcome to Zappy Production. I'm a portrait photographer. I shoot quite a lot of portraits, be it standard one, fashion, conceptual, or even cosplay. So today I'll be looking at the A7C as a camera for a portrait photographer, and today will be a very short review because this is a sample set from Sony. I only have 1.5 weeks with it, so the amount of testing I do is 2 photo shoots, which will give you some nice photos to see in this review itself. And before I start, I'd like to thank SLR Revolution for hooking me up with Sony to loan this set here, which is the A7C with the 135mm GM. Really, without SLR Revolution, I would not have been able to bring you this review, this setup here. Now, that being said, the A7C, as I said, I'll be reviewing from a portrait photographer's point of view. So let's get down to business straight away. Firstly, this is a very small body, but the grip, when you first hold it, the grip is smaller. It is not as deep as the A7 III, so that's something to note. Secondly, the amount of buttons is a lot lesser. I mean, you probably can see in this video here, there's a lot lesser buttons and there is no joystick behind. So controlling autofocus is a little bit harder and there's a lack of customization. There's also one less dial here. Now, if you're using Sony's professional camera and lenses, you can use the aperture ring, but without the aperture ring in some lenses, this lack of dial will be a problem because you only have the back dial and the dial on the absolute back front here and the back dial here. These two dials will let you control ISO and shutter itself. Without the front dial, there'll be no aperture dial. The aperture ring will do it. But now, if you don't have a lens with an aperture ring, what will happen is that you have to give up one of these settings, which may or may not be a big deal already. Now, the next thing is that the viewfinder is on the side for the A7C. Now, this viewfinder is very, very small in magnification, I felt that it's one of the smallest magnification of a viewfinder I ever tried. The resolution doesn't seem very high, but it seems to work in the field. Now, my only big complaint with this viewfinder is not the resolution, not the size, is because when you actually put, the trigger, let me show you, and you were to put your, head here with the thing, your forehead will keep banging into this trigger here, which is kind of irritating if you ask me. So that is probably the downside, if you ask me. Not the small size, not the low resolution, but banging the trigger, especially when you do it like this, because you want to shoot portrait. Now, the A7C only has one SD card slot, but the nice thing is that they didn't hide it in the battery compartment. At least they give it a proper side door. Oh, let me try to open this again. Yes, and there's only one SD card slot you can see here. So one SD card slot to me is not a big deal. I mean, in my last 10 years of photography, I did corrupt about one card so far. Now, sometimes one is too many times, so depends on your need. If you shoot very professionally, cannot afford to lose a single piece of data, then yes, this one card slot is a big deal to you. But if not, if you are looking at this camera as an alternate second camera, or maybe a camera to just leisurely use around, then I would say as one card slot isn't that big deal. Now, the A7C's biggest difference, if you ask me, is the flippy screen. It uses the video type, you can go any angle, it doesn't have any blind spots. So when I was using this camera, I truly appreciate it because I got the A9, and the A9 can't flip in portrait mode, as I said in my review. So this guy is a winner. To me, as a portrait photographer, I like to do such shots, which is very low down on the ground, as you can see with this Reiko Maru shot. We shot at the beach. Imagine the sand. I'm not going to put this camera on the sand itself, no way. But the portrait flippy screen allows me to shoot portrait very low down without me having to kiss the ground to do it. So I think this is a big deal to me. In fact, this will be the deciding factor if I was going to get an A7C or A7 III, because the flippy screen really helps me a lot in my portrait shoots. And that's about it in terms of build quality. Really, I don't have much other complaints on the A7C. I think it is meant to be small and light, which is what it seems to be. And the flippy screen do help you to get over the viewfinder's placement and stuff. In terms of autofocus, it is the A7 III in every way. So don't expect like the blazing fast new autofocus in the A1, A9, and the A7S III. But on general, I find it very acceptable and it is very accurate, and IAF does work very well. In fact, I shot mainly in IAF with this camera and I don't have any complaints. So overall, the autofocus is pretty good. Now, I don't have a chance to try continuous autofocus with a character running towards me or jumping around and dancing. That's because I have limited time. I only have 1.5 weeks, as I said. So pretty much for the purpose of portraiture and the subject is not moving really quick, the A7C with its eye detection and autofocus seems to work very well, and I don't have any complaints on that. Now, when it comes to image quality, this is the A7 III equivalent in image quality. Dynamic range is pretty good. Let me show you a before after. I will just mosaic the face. Pretty good, in terms of color and editing. And when I was editing this together with my A1's photo, it matches quite well with it. I can't tell much difference between the A1 and the A7 photo other than resolution itself. And in terms of dynamic range, it seems to be very similar, if not slightly better on the A7 III. The A1, I find that when I zoom in, I can see a little bit of noise. The A7C seems to be relatively clean. Now, that is, in the shadow region, by the way. So, small difference, but twice the megapixel maybe makes a lot of difference in terms of noise. And overall, in terms of color also, when I was doing my Ganyu shoot, my cosplay shoot with my friend Xiaoyu, you can see that I pushed the colors quite drastically and I don't have any issues with it with the A7C's outcome. So pretty much the sensor on the A7C, even though it's quite an old sensor, it still performs really well in modern day, and I don't have any complaints with the image quality from this camera itself. That being said, in my final thoughts on the A7C. Now the A7C is supposed to be Sony's most budget full frame camera, and depending on where you are, it can be like 1799 USD or maybe 2599 or 2499 Sing dollars. Now in Singapore now there's an offer now. This is 2399 Sing dollars. The issue is that the A7 III is also on discount at if I'm not wrong, 2499. Just 100 Sing dollars more than the A7C. Now with $100 difference, then it comes down to ergonomics and whether the 2 card slots is important. So if you want 2 card slots, you want a viewfinder in the center that is slightly bigger, and you want more buttons, more configurations, I would say get the A7 III. But if not, if you want to have the flippy screen, you want to have the smallest body and use a small lens, and you want something just very compact and easy to carry around, the A7C is probably for you. In fact, if you ask me, I treasure the flippy screen more because I got other cameras with dual cut slots and stuff. So the A7C, if I was to purchase it, it will be a backup camera. And I will tell you that I will prefer the A7C over the A7 III just for this flippy screen so that I can shoot in low down. And I also can use this as a video camera because everybody likes to vlog these days, right? The only way to do it is with this flippy screen. So overall, I would say that I will recommend you the A7C if you need the flippy screen, any purpose, video, photo. As long as you need a flippy screen and you don't need the dual cut slot, get the A7C. If you need the body, the ergonomics, the buttons, the joystick, any cut slot, sure, get the A7 III. And that's about it for today. It's going to be a short one, as I said. The A7C is an enjoyable camera, and definitely I will recommend you if you are looking for a full frame budget camera, because there is Sigma lenses, Sony lenses, and small little lenses that can fit on the A7C. You have endless choices, and it is relatively affordable. That's about it for today. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.